Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running, nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I hope all of you are having a wonderful day. As we get things kicked off here, we have a lot going on behind the scenes, but welcome into the show. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and why don't we go ahead and just get started. So a couple of things to mention. The first one being that, yes, we have a guest today, and we're going to actually try it right about now to get him on. And so today on the show, actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and give him a call. And again, I apologize for doing this on the air, but, had to happen. So let's see how well this works. All right, so that didn't work at all. Okay, so everyone out there, welcome into the show. And I will say that today on the program, we are scheduled to have Mr. Jeremy Ring. He has a book called We Were Yahoo. And it's going to be a lot of fun to talk with him and his experiences over at Yahoo. So with that being said, we have also later on in the program, we have computer and technology news as well. So let's see. So let's go ahead and try to get our guest on just one more time. Let's go ahead and make a phone call, and let's see how this works. So everyone, again, it's gonna be a lot of fun as soon as we get him on. I hope all of you are having a great day. And let's see, I believe this should work. So,
hello.
Hi, Jeremy.
Yeah.
Hi, Jeremy. Sorry about that. Some things happen here, but we're actually on the air. We're ready to go. And everyone, this is Mr. Jeremy Ring. He is, of course, the author of the book We Were Yahoo. Jeremy, if you can hear me okay, how are you today?
I can hear you fine. Thank you so much for inviting me on your show.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. So with, I think with that being said, why don't we go ahead and just get started with the interview. So, happy to have you on. And before we get started on your book, and, I'll be honest, a lot of what we could find here on the show before we invited you on says that you were actually running for elected office. So, hey, that's exciting as well. But give us a bit of background on yourself. What, kind of what led you to write this book? And, just give us some background.
Great. Yes, I've been a state senator for 10 years, and I'm running for a position of chief financial officer of Florida, but this book has nothing to do with politics.
Gotcha.
I was one of the original kind of first-team employees with Yahoo. We actually opened the New York or East Coast office out of my apartment, and I was the first salesperson hired by the company worldwide. Great run, and as the first team left in 2001, and I moved to Florida. Around 2011, I got very sick. And when I say very sick, it was touch and go for a while. But as I was recovering, it's therapeutic. I said, let me write a book. And I started writing this book about how we got Yahoo up off the ground and built it, and how I got to Yahoo. And as I got better, I put the book away, and it was really just a therapeutic exercise. Well, a few years later, 5 or 6 years later, I obviously read that Yahoo was now auctioning off its Yahoo.com assets, and I just thought to myself, my gosh, I started the first half of this book already. Let me go back and finish it. So that was the impetus for the book.
Yeah, no, and we're going to talk all about the book, because Yahoo as a company, I think that a lot of our audience members, of course, remember when Yahoo was, the largest, if not, one of the two largest, of course, next to Google. I mean, I'll be honest, like almost every single computer I've ever purchased always came with the default home screen being yahoo.com. Like that was kind of a very common thing to happen. And what happened to Yahoo was, I think, in some ways kind of surprising at how quickly, how quickly it kind of went downhill for the company as they ended, kind of towards the end of their, towards the end of the company. And you actually have a question here saying, tell me why you think that Yahoo failed. So the first surprising thing is, do you think Yahoo as a company, even though it's not here anymore, do you think Yahoo failed? And if so, why?
Well, I mean, it's still there as a company. I mean, not a lot of people talking about it. There's not a lot of people probably on planet Earth having a discussion about Yahoo these days. But it still is here, and it's been merged with the AOL assets, and it's under the corporate umbrella of Verizon. And there are still some obviously decent products such as Yahoo News and Finance, and Yahoo just broke last week the big story on the NCAA and paying players. So Yahoo still has a presence, but if you're asking me, did Yahoo fail? Yes, and it certainly doesn't have anywhere near the presence it once had. It's been a long time, and we have to go back 20 years. But Yahoo was in the late 90s to around 2001 was one of the most iconic brands in the world. I was there 21 straight quarters, and I think I can make a strong case to say for those 21 straight quarters, we were probably the most high-profile publicly traded company in the world. Our earnings reports were an event themselves. But yes, Yahoo failed, and I'd need a long time, more than this interview, to talk about why. But I'll highlight a few of the reasons that I think they failed.
Sure.
I'd like to think that probably the biggest, when Yahoo started, I joke, there used to be these things called magazines and newspapers.
Really?
Long time ago. Yeah, a long time ago. And, we'd actually put them in our hands and read them. But when we had magazines and newspapers, we had this very interesting, very good rule, and which still exists today, where editorial and content are blocked off one another. I'm sorry, editorial and advertising are blocked off one another. We all recognize that. We all accept that.
Mm-hmm.
However, when search started, search was kind of gray. Was it advertising or was it editorial? And the Yahoo position was made up of a lot of product people who'd come out of a traditional print world where that rule was in place. And Yahoo determined that search was editorial and shouldn't be compromised with advertising. Google looked at the internet as kind of an empty whiteboard to create their own rules. And they obviously saw the opportunity to monetize search, and they viewed it clearly as editorial, but also you could integrate advertising without compromising the user experience. Hence, they created the program AdWords. AdWords was an $80 billion a year business, I believe, in 2017. I can make a case, probably the best business model ever invented. Yahoo, who was very late to the game in paid search, never were able to monetize it, obviously to the level that it would, that Google became. I mean, just single-digit percentages of what Google did. So I think that I could probably say by not monetizing search or recognizing that search could be monetized without compromising user experience, I'd probably point as the biggest mistake and one they couldn't recover from. But there were others, opportunities on more than one occasion to acquire Google, opportunities to acquire Facebook, who are today combined valuation of over $1.2 trillion. They rejected Google for $1 million at one point. And then they had a chance to buy Google again and probably could have had a deal for somewhere $6 to $7 billion. Google, they had a deal on the table for $1.1 billion, and actually Yahoo overplayed their hand and cut the cost of the deal down by $300 million. So those were, really large mistakes early on that were rated almost impossible to recover from.
Right. And of course, looking back, hindsight 2020, I think everyone, kind of can look back and go, man, I wish I had bought that house in 2009 instead of 2007. I wish I had gotten into Bitcoin 6 months ago. I wish I had, done X, Y, and Z. But Yahoo made a lot of those. And I mean, again, as someone who was deep within Yahoo, Did you feel that Yahoo, again, maybe through the search thing, like you mentioned with the advertising, did you feel that they had some kind of, I don't want to say superiority complex, but kind of we do it the Yahoo way and we don't care what Google's doing and our way is going to be the right way eventually. Was there any kind of hubris in Yahoo that led to this?
Oh, sure. Remember, early on, Yahoo had kicked aside, good old bugs or gnats, companies like Excite or Lycos or InfoSeek that clearly nobody talks about today. But Google was the one that came on and decided to do things different. The other companies were trying to copy Yahoo, and Yahoo was able to, push them aside without really much difficulty. Once a company came in and wasn't looking to copy Yahoo, but looking to do something different, I think Yahoo wasn't able to recognize what that threat was. And early on, if you recall, now the world's changed. We've got to go back to the late 90s now. Early on, Yahoo, if you recall, they became a portal, and all those companies became portals, which meant they became more content-rich services, which meant that they wanted people to come to their site and stay on their website, where Google did the exact opposite. Google was a search engine that said, we want you to come to us and leave us.
Yeah.
Now that's evolved, and they've acquired companies like YouTube now and others, which are all about obviously keeping users on the website. But in the early days, it was the exact opposite of what Yahoo was doing. Yahoo keep users on our site. Google, move users off of our site.
Right, and I mean they still hold that to a point with Google.com. And honestly, just from all the IT people I talk to and that we have here on the show, they always check internet connection by going to Google.com because it's a white screen with their logo and a search bar. That's it. They want people to kind of navigate away from Google.com. So again, that was just to your point, right?
Yeah. So I think they didn't know how to. Google was the first company that came at Yahoo doing something 180 degrees differently. And so I guess Yahoo didn't see that initial threat that Google was, because Google was a search engine. Yahoo didn't want to be a search engine. They wanted to have search functionality, but they didn't want to be a search engine. They wanted to be a portal.
So that, I guess, takes us to this next one, because you have, so I think you laid out pretty well why Google succeeded in the search field and the ad ad field and more. But let's talk about Facebook, because Facebook, if you want to talk about portal, if you want to talk about news, if you want to talk about really any kind of social experience, that Yahoo tried to be, then I guess in a way they were almost a predecessor to Facebook. Like if they wanted to make the leap and make the connection to social media platform, I think it would have been completely natural for Yahoo to do exactly that. So talk about why they didn't take the step towards Facebook and why Facebook succeeded.
I'd push back a little bit.
Sure, go for it.
I'm kind of torn. Better than saying push back. On the one hand, what Yahoo was doing was creating content. Content is a kind of one-way discussion. Social network is about two-way or multiple-way discussions. You're having discussions with multiple, back and forth. And Portals isn't. Portals is the content provider provides you with content. You view it, and maybe you can post something on a message back. But it wasn't true interactivity. Now, Yahoo did recognize that social would be something to be reckoned with, and so they did make an acquisition in the late 90s of GeoCities. I think we paid about $3.7 billion for GeoCities. Now, GeoCities was a precursor to the social network world. So I don't think GeoCities, while it failed, I don't think it was a wrong bet. It was maybe early. It was the right thesis. So I think there was a part of Yahoo that saw that, but it was too early. Now, Facebook, let's be clear, Facebook pioneered nothing at the time.
Right.
Facebook was not the first social network by any means. They took off, a fuse lit, they skill took that fuse, to what it is today. But, Facebook was not a pioneering company. I mean, MySpace came before Facebook. GeoCities came before them. Friendster came before them, and many others.
Right. Right. And, that's certainly the case. Facebook didn't do anything really kind of revolutionary. What they did was they scaled it to a point, and like you said, they scaled to a point that now they are just the biggest with the most users. And for a social media site, that's great. But what I was kind of getting at was that, everyone I knew before Gmail came out, they all had a Yahoo email. And, they apparently, everyone who used the internet at some point had a Yahoo account. I felt like if there was going to be a social media platform, and of course, Yahoo certainly had users, they could have bridged that gap. But I guess, like you said, they were focused on portal content, magazine-esque kind of stuff like that.
They were focused on a one-way discussion. The internet is obviously about connectivity,
right,
and interactivity. And connecting, one person to one person to one person to one person, et cetera. And if you look at Yahoo back in those days, really, what was it? It was just a print publication on a computer screen.
Right. It's
really what it was. That maybe refreshed more than a traditional newspaper can. It didn't have that sense of interactivity.
Yeah, it definitely didn't have that back and forth. I never felt like I could make a comment and, the author would get back to me. But no, so this has been great. Of course, fun to talk down memory lane. But looking towards the future, why did you feel the need to reminisce on this? You mentioned that Yahoo was recently sold to AOL and, Verizon, like you said. But can you extrapolate any kind of the future of this space, of course, going forward, from your insights?
I mean, not really, and I'll tell you why. Because, we all know what technologies could be out there, whether it's, augmented reality or drones or, driverless cars or robotics or whatever. And the truth is that, behavioral shifts are hard. Okay, Google and Facebook, they're making bets in every new technology field, and thus far, I haven't really seen any bet that has materialized. Right, so we just gonna continue to, evolve with new products and services that Google and Facebook, provide us. Are we ever going to be able to really revolutionize and take a leap from, what we see on our screens to kind of an AR world? And what we see on our screens and our iPhones are, that's controlled by our fingers, and augmented reality is controlled by our eyes. These are behavioral shifts. So I think we kind of all know the technologies that are out there, but I think there's a big social psychology question here. I mean, I'm 47 years old. My entire life, everyone has been saying to me the world's going to be solar powered and electric cars, and we're far from that. So, I don't know, and I honestly don't know if anyone knows. I know big bets are being made, big money is being spent, technology is being developed. I get all that, but what no one has told me yet is where is the behavioral shift going to move us to? It's a lot harder to change behavior than it is to just kind of evolve existing behavior. And people forget that all the time.
You say all that, and then at the same time, I have been thinking about, just recently there's been a lot of renewed focus on the role of Facebook in society and, elections, of course, things like that. And, you're talking about this behavior. To change is definitely slow, but as we've seen with Facebook, to study it and to utilize it at the same time has definitely ramped up the idea of retention and, getting eyeballs on the page. Technology, I think, right now probably isn't changing us that fast, but it's certainly learning about us really fast between artificial intelligence and blah, blah, blah. Technology is getting us, and that's equally important, though, don't you think?
Sure. I mean, we are being overrun in every part of our life with Facebook and Amazon and Google, and we don't even know it. We don't even have any idea just how big brother the world has come. It's a, that's almost a hollow term, and we don't really understand the depth of it. So I agree. I don't know, if we knew just how much these companies control our lives in ways that's never. Government can't control our lives as much as these companies do. What is it, 50 minutes a day people spend on social network or whatever the last number was reported? It's insanity. And then, we don't know what's real, what's not real. Go to a 7-Eleven and buy a Pepsi, and somehow you show up and, there's Coca-Cola ads everywhere on your Facebook page. It's like these companies have managed to surgically put a chip in our mind, in our brain, without ever obviously doing the actual surgery, but somehow they put it in there, and they know our thoughts, our feelings. Bump into somebody on the street that you haven't seen in 20 years, and all of a sudden they show up on your Facebook page, someone you may know. So it's the most...
I completely agree. Of course, being Computer America, we talk about this all the time. More to your point, just 2 or 3 weeks ago, we did a story about China using facial recognition and essentially wanting to ID every citizen in China within a couple of seconds. And if you want to talk about Orwellian, I think that technology has certainly had the capabilities, and that's why I'm kind of excited to talk to you about the role, that the government plays, I guess not just in tech companies, but just in, and I know this may be a little disjointed, but what role does the government play in entrepreneurship as well? Because, I think up until this point, we've had a very hands-off approach, especially from tech companies, that whatever you want to do, go for it. And I don't want to say that's led us astray, but it's led us to this conversation we just had about, how much do companies really know about us? What role do governments play in entrepreneurship and maybe tech entrepreneurship?
Well, I'd like to think government should play less of a role in entrepreneurship. I think where government needs to play more of a role, this is just my humble opinion, is with some of these mega companies. That these companies that are owning too much data, their privacy policies are not, probably need to be regulated more than they are. When companies like Google have 90+% of the search market, are we getting into monopolistic sorts of, questions? So I think between privacy, just size and scope, and not allowing, the startups, it's hard for them to break through the ceiling of the Googles, Facebooks, Amazons, and Apples of the world, and those companies only break through the ceiling by either going away or being acquired. It's not easy, and so I think government has to start. I'm not saying they will, but in different generations and different times, government would have taken a closer look at some of these companies and said, are they just getting too big? We don't live in that day and age today where that's the case, but what's the difference between Google and Standard Oil? Yeah. Probably not much.
Yeah, and that's why in the second part of the show, we're going to be doing computer technology news. We have an article that we're going to cover today that over in Europe, they implemented a new rule for Google that you have a right to be forgotten. You have a right as a citizen that your data, not that you own the data, but that it's your data. It's about you, therefore it's yours. And Google has received 2.4 million requests for removing information about people from the internet, or at least, from their search engine. And you're right. That I think is going to be a huge case that, whenever, right now it's all happening in Europe. Wish it was happening in the States, but right now Europe, and really talking to these tech companies and saying, is what you're doing not just should you be doing it, but is it good for everyone to be doing it? So I think you're absolutely right there.
Right. And Google's they have a lot of resources. They've been fighting this. Initially came out probably 2 years ago already, maybe longer. This being able to remove yourself, and it's still out there. So I don't know. I don't know where it's going to go. And I know the U.S. government's done nothing. I know the EU has started to make some waves, with the remove aspects of it. But we'll have to see. It's going to be a while, and I certainly don't see anyone in the United States government lifting a finger to even consider or think about this. I haven't read where it's crossed anyone's mind in the U.S. government. Now, maybe I'm missing something, but I just haven't seen it.
You know, and it's so weird because large tech companies actually have the power to, especially local governments, they have a way of bending them to their will. We saw recently with Amazon looking for new headquarters. We had, states or even just cities and, entire counties bending over backwards. Tax cut, tax break, we'll do this, we'll do that, we'll change our name. I mean, it's the deference that we give to multi-billion-dollar companies is shocking, I think. But
let's step back for a sec. We've never seen companies the size of this. We've never seen companies where you're seeing market capitalizations of $700 billion plus. It's never happened before. You've never seen companies that with the kind of control that they have over our life. I've never seen a company ever that takes up an average person's hour every single day just on one, looking at Facebook, let alone the rest of the screen, which is 9 or 10 hours a day. So there is potential government intervention. I don't know how you get there. Right. There's all kinds of things. There's, we're all addicted. We're addicted. We have to start treating screens like food. Obviously, we can't go without food.
Right.
Okay, and food is more addicting than anything else in life. But people are healthy or they're not healthy, depending upon oftentimes, the way they eat. People could be healthy or not healthy, the way they ingest screen time. And if we really have to start looking at it like we treat food, we know we need it. We're never going to get rid of it. But can we be on a diet on screen time, or are we going to use screen time the way we use it, which is we're going to have appetizers, the meal, and then 2 desserts after?
That is an interesting way to go about it because, you're right. I mean, the amount of screen time, and it's not just people who, my age, I'm 20s, 30s, that have maybe, kind of went through their formative years, teen years, and so on, looking at screens. I mean, it covers the elderly, it covers everyone, it covers kids especially are getting more screen time than, really this is the first generation we're going to see that they're going to grow up almost entirely with a screen in their hand. And, the effects of that I'm sure are going to be seen, but it's just very interesting, I think, for me to hear you say, that these, they play such a large role. Is it too much of a role and things like that? I mean, it's very interesting. But hey,
it's a role. I would treat it like I would treat it like food. Food can play too much of a role in our life, or true food can play just enough of a role in our life.
Right. And hey, there's certainly plenty of gluttons. I've seen it. Hey, I think you're right. When you see people texting and driving, it really hits home that people are a little bit too attached to their screens. There's something too addictive, something too.
It's addictive.
Yeah. Right.
And keep this in mind. And here's the biggest cop out is when I hear, shouldn't parents monitor their kids more? I'm like, well, shouldn't parents monitor themselves more first? Help yourself too. I mean, this is not just a kid's issue. This is societal. I'm not saying I'm not innocent of this. I don't know anyone who is. I mean, this is something that we face as a society. We haven't wrapped our arms around it because I'm not sure we've thought deeply enough about it. But again, you're right. We when we feel gluttonous, we do something about it with our nutrition. We haven't made that bridge, to screen time yet. We're all gluttonous when it comes to screen time.
I don't think we have. Jeremy, and I'll extend this invitation to you. Would you like to stay over and we can wrap up our conversation on the other side of the break?
If you'd like, sure, yeah.
Sure.
That's
All right,
fine.
perfect. So everyone, we'll be right back. Music means we're going to take a break. We'll be back in like 3 minutes. So everyone, we're talking to Senator Jeremy Ring. And folks, we'll be right back. Computer America, right after this. Stay tuned.
Got an old car? You can donate it, whether it's running or not, to the United Breast Cancer Foundation and save a life. They'll even come and pick it up for free. The United Breast Cancer Foundation has saved hundreds of women's lives through their free or low-cost breast screen exams. But now they need your help. The United Breast Cancer Foundation wants to save more lives through early detection by offering women free or low-cost breast screening exams. And donating your old car, SUV, or truck, whether it's running or not, helps pay for them. Plus, you get a charitable tax deduction. Help the United Breast Cancer Foundation save lives by donating your old car, SUV, or truck. Call now for free pickup. 800-245-0473, 800-245-0473, 800-245-0473. Call right now. That number again is 800-245-0473. Dish TV is better than cable TV. Why? Because you can save 45% on packages compared to your high-priced cable bill. Wow. Take those giant scissors out and cut the cable and save with Dish TV. Plus, you get a free DVR upgrade to record your favorite shows and free installation. And with Dish Anywhere, you can watch TV for free on your mobile device. Act fast. You can save hundreds of dollars. Does your cable company do that for you? I don't think so. Get all the best TV programming at your fingertips at a fraction of the price of cable TV. So say adios, arrivederci, goodbye to the high cable bill and save up to 45% on Dish TV packages today. These are limited time offers and can change at any time. Call fast. 800-471-5325. 800-471-5325. 800-471-5325. That's 800-471-5325.
And welcome back to the Computer America Show. It is 32 minutes past the hour. As we continue on, we have Mr. Jeremy Ring here with us, and we are talking, well, we spent the first part of the program about his book, We Were Yahoo, and that's available through, hey, we talked about Amazon. It's available through Amazon and other book publishers. Check that out. We have a link to it in the show notes, and we also have a link to his website. But, I think we've gone off on a very interesting kind of tangent here about the role of technology in our lives. And Jeremy, I wanted to definitely continue on here with you because we have this next question here about, and this is something that I've felt, not just because I run a computer and tech show, but just as a person, technology causes problems, no doubt about it. But I think what keeps it around and what keeps people investing in it and being interested in it is that technology solves a lot of problems. It answers a lot of questions that we have on how are we going to do things, and invariably technology seems to be the answer in a lot of cases. So I guess my question to you would be, what are some, really, do you think technology helps us or hurts us going forward? We have a lot of threats, you can take that a lot of ways. Technology, is it a good solution in most cases?
No, not always.
Really?
It is if you want to make a company more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
It is, if you want to, have, immediate access to information. It is if you want to have, immediate connectivity. But, there's things that we should be worried about. We should be worried about the fact that
personally,
it's going to come.
Just personally, one topic could be something like transparency. We talked a lot about meddling in elections and things like that. Of course, electronic ballots are always casting doubt on, legitimacy of voting and things like that. that's why this technology, such as the blockchain, which is, an electronic ledger for all of you out there, like something like privacy. I feel like technology could, help with, not privacy, transparency. Transparency could be helped with the aid of technology. Simple things like that.
Well, I wasn't going there, but obviously, the blockchain, allows, allows for the kind of security that we've, only envisioned. I mean, everyone's trying to build a new internet. It's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. But that's not where I was going. Where I was going was, companies in 2008 were still feeling the effects of the crash. What happened is companies were forced to make more money for their shareholders while hiring less people, and you do that through technology. So there's going to come a time in the not so distant future where you're not going to go into a McDonald's and see workers. Okay,
right.
Everything's going to be automated. Everything. We have how many? 1 million Uber drivers in this country. Well, what if everything goes driverless? So what do we do? What do we do with society that needs to work and won't have those jobs, any jobs available that they've made livings, whether it's meager living or middle class living. It's certainly not affluent living, but I think we have to get in front of that, because I think that is going to be the single biggest challenge we face as a nation. And again, in my little humble opinion, in the next anywhere from 5 to 25 years, is that the job base is going to decrease.
And it's going to decrease such a large amount, because you named a couple there that are pretty obviously going to go away: truck drivers, cab drivers, Uber drivers, fast food workers, counter workers, cooks, things like that. Those are going to go away. But I mean, we've also, I think it was the head of Samsung a couple months ago mentioned that CEOs would probably, in 10 to 15 years, it would only make sense to have a computer, artificial intelligence learned CEO, because they're going to be able to see trends, take in data, blah blah blah. That white collar jobs aren't safe from automation. Oh, Mundo just lost you there. Jeremy, are you there? No, we are not. All right, so I think we're going to maybe have to stop the interview right there. So that is certainly unfortunate. And yeah, Jeremy, let me just try one more time. Jeremy, are you there? Okay, so yeah, we're going to stop the interview there, folks. If you want to find out more about Jeremy, and of course, he is a senator from Florida, and if you want to find out what he's all about, and of course, his book, We Were Yahoo, you can check that out as well, available through Amazon, and I think that was through another publication. I can actually find out really quick. That was also through Simon & Schuster. There we go. Yeah, so also available through them, available in paperback, and yeah, very happy for Jeremy to join us. So, folks, until then, we're just going to kind of call that one there. But the point I was going to make there was that white-collar jobs are not safe, blue-collar jobs are not safe, and, honestly, it's kind of comforting to know that there are, of course, senators, and there are people who are veterans in the tech industry that see this coming as well. It's not a good thing, to be certain, but at the same time, it's something that you're definitely going to have to worry about. The answer to these, I invariably still agree that technology is going to be the answer. I think a non-technology answer would be something as simple as, well, give them all, one simple job. Let's make a new Great Pyramid of Egypt. If you thought that 4,500 years ago, if you thought pyramids were awesome 4,500 years ago, let's make a great public works project so people can work and supply for their families. Let's make some new pyramids, and let's make some awesome pyramids. That's probably not the answer. It's probably not going to be physical. It's probably not going to be, traditional. The answer to a lot of these questions, societal and otherwise. it's probably going to be technology in some form or another. So, yep, we're going to leave that right there. And in the meantime, we will be doing computer and technology news. So, without further ado, let's see if we can go ahead and pull some of these up. And yeah, it looks like we're going to run into a little problem there. But here we go, folks. Computer and technology news brought to you by, well, Computer America. Here we go. All right, now here's the first one. And this is going to be pretty cool as soon as we can, of course, get up and running. But, well, not pretty cool. It's a common sense ruling from the courts of Germany. And Germany, you know, just like the EU in general, Germany has been laying down a lot of different opinions about the role of technology, and not just the role of technology, but the role of Google and Facebook and other mega corporations that, hey, we were just talking about. And this one is a common sense ruling, which I really, really like, because to a lot of people, Google is the internet. You know, at the same time, Bing is the internet. Anything found on a search engine, to a lot of people, that is the internet, period. That's not the case. You know, when you hear things such as the dark web or the dark net or whatever you want to call it, the dark night, no, I'm kidding. But the dark web, that is simply websites that are not they are not crawled by search engines. So what you may consider to be scary, spooky, and things like that, it means simply you can't find it on Google. You have to know the physical address, or you have to have a link to get there. It has to be, you know, known to you for another way, which is fine. You know, hey, that's it doesn't always have to be for nefarious purposes. But so I say this, that means that if you had an address and things like that, just because Google doesn't show it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And therefore, this ruling from Germany saying that Google is not required to vet websites that it crawls, because Google has some very basic artificial intelligence to help it with its task. It crawls every single website that lets it. And that could be anything from maybe websites with questionable material. That could be websites with fake or misleading articles, news, things like that. That could be websites that all around in general cannot, I think most people would find it objectionable. So with that being said, you of course run into a situation where should Google, because it's found through Google, should Google be the one to take it down off of their search engine and decide that, hey, Google, how dare you let people find this website? And the answer simply is that the internet's just too big. Google does a very good automated job of finding all of these websites and categorizing them, and then of course letting people search and find them. So if you want Jeremy's Bakery, you have a bakery, your name's Jeremy, and hey, there's a pretty good chance that if you put in the right keywords, if Google finds the right kind of metadata about you, that hey, if people search Jeremy's Bakery in whatever city you're in, they're probably going to find you. They do an awesome job of that. But if people find, again, that questionable material, should Google get in trouble? And Google, to their credit, does a very good job of whenever a website is reported, whenever a service is reported, they take it down immediately. They review it, or at least in a lot of cases, don't review it. If they get enough complaints, they take another look at it. They essentially do another pass. And if they're found to be bad, Google has no problem taking search results down off, from questionable websites. But they don't do that beforehand. And these websites that we're talking about, they pop up like crazy and they just get researched. And again, that is researched, not research, researched. And there you go. It's back up again Google is not responsible, again, according to Germany and German courts, because, if Google was found, if this were the case in Germany, well, it applies everywhere. So, yep. Google is not responsible for websites such as those. They do, again, a good job of taking them down, but all in all, they are not required to, police them, which would have been an impossible task. It would have made Google's job nigh impossible, if not slow down the entire process. So there you go. And so that was that article. Again, very, very cool to see some common sense ruling from Germany, because first of all, that would have been impossible to enforce. And then even beyond that, it would have been, that's pretty much it. Just impossible to enforce. All right, so there's that story. Why don't we go ahead and, do this next story. Now, this next story is something that we've been following along for quite a while now. It is the idea of loot boxes. What's, kind of what is allowed, what is gambling under the circumstances, and at what age do we kind of tell people that, hey, this is okay? And, well, in a move to kind of try to appease the masses, we now have a new ESRB rating. That's like the entertainment, I know this. The entertainment something ratings board, whatever it is. They're essentially the ones that put E for everyone, E for 10 and up, T for teen, M for mature, R for, AU for adult content, whatever. They're the ones who do that, and now they have a new label that they're going to be putting onto games that mention, just like in mobile games that they've had to do, is, hey, in-game purchases. And like I said, this was traditionally just a mobile kind of problem, but we have now reached the point where it is now everyone's problem. So, the controversy over loot boxes in games like Star Wars Battlefront 2, Need for Speed, Payback, and Destiny 2 hasn't settled, and state legislators in the U.S. and governments abroad are considering legislation that would limit their use or straight up ban them. And so, central to the debate is whether loot boxes should be considered gambling, and in that regard, ESRB has maintained that it's not the case, saying that while there is an element of chance in these mechanics, the player is always guaranteed to receive in-game content, saying that even if the player is unfortunately receives something they don't want. And that is something that if you've never played one of these loot box games, yes, there are generally there are many items of lower or common or kind of crap quality, and then there are kind of uncommon, kind of items all the way up to rare, super rare, and that tiered system. You're almost guaranteed to get a common, not so guaranteed to get an uncommon, and then it goes up and up and up till you get to the low percentages for the super rare items. And that is, that's most gambling systems or, in-game currency systems in a nutshell. So they said that going forward, the ESRB will begin adding in in-game purchases label to box games that have any sort of in-game purchase, including loot boxes, saying that the new in-game purchases label will be applied to games with in-game offerings to purchase digital goods or premiums with real-world currency, including but not limited to bonus levels, skins, surprise items, music, virtual coins, and other forms of in-game currency, subscriptions, season passes, and upgrades. And as ESRB is pointing out here, that can also mean disabling ads. So they've also launched the parentaltools.org, a website for parents that provides information on the new label, guides for setting up parental controls, and an explanation of the ESRB's rating system. So very very, very interesting. So here we go, saying that last year, actually, some may wonder why ESRB is not addressing loot boxes specifically. And, well, they said the president last year told Ars Technica that it's because a large majority of parents don't know what a loot box is, and that parents' bigger concern is their child spending money in games, not necessarily how they're doing it. And quoting, saying, it's very important for us to not harp on loot boxes per se, but make sure that we're capturing loot boxes, but also other types of purchases, which I think is a fair point. Loot boxes are a very niche product, and if we try to curtail that system, then I think companies are smart enough to move away from a loot box to something that isn't labeled or doesn't have baggage, and would then simply develop some other way to monetize their platform. So, in addition to today's announcement, the ESRB also responded to Senator Hassan's letter, reiterating today's announcement and addressing concerns over the potential harm of loot boxes. So, yeah, I think that's going to put a nice little ribbon on the conversation for a while until, these things move through the courts at their own speed. But, hey, I'm kind of happy with the decision. Loot boxes are a way that a lot of companies make money and subsidize themselves and future content, but they do prey on, a certain level of gambling. So I think if nothing else, being able to, kind of say what they are without having to specifically identify loot boxes, I think that's a good middle ground for sure. So, with that being said, why don't we go ahead and move on to the story? Cryptocurrency in general has had a very hate-hate relationship with government entities, because some, like Monero, are designed specifically to keep their users anonymous, let people spend their money how they want to without any oversight. And hey, that is the point of certain cryptocurrencies. Others, they are started by the actual governments, looking at you, I think it was Venezuela that did it. Essentially, people put money into crypto and they didn't expect any kind of reporting to the government of earnings based on cryptocurrency. It was a completely separate issue from such as taxes. Well, doesn't seem to be the case anytime soon, saying that Coinbase tells 13,000 users that their data will be sent to the IRS here shortly. And by shortly, I mean within the next 21 days. Done. Yeah. Actually, no, I don't have it. All right, so Coinbase told its customers on Friday that it plans to comply with a court order and hand over 13,000 customers' data to the IRS within 3 weeks. The IRS made the request back in November, asking for Coinbase records of all the people who bought Bitcoin from 2013 to 2015 to seek out those who were evading cryptocurrency taxes. Anyone affected by the order should now have received an email from Coinbase to that effect. So Coinbase heavily resisted the summons, but ultimately last November, the San Francisco court ruled that Coinbase had to turn over identifying records for all users who have completed transactions of more than $20,000 through their accounts in a single year between 2013 and 2015, and that the data request includes taxpayer ID, names, date of birth, addresses, and transaction records from that period. Ooh boy. Saying that in an email, they said that Coinbase noted that it had tried. Coinbase fought this summons in court in an effort to protect its customers and the industry as a whole from unwarranted intrusion from the government. It informed its 13,000 affected customers that the court order required us to produce information specific to your account, but that the company would not provide legal or tax advice. So far, 2018 is shaping up to be the year that tax collectors get serious about Bitcoin earning, meaning that it's a good time to be extra careful about compliance. So, yeah, like I said, a lot of cryptocurrency is under the table. They think it's separate from other earnings. They think it's separate from government entities as a whole. And, well, that won't be the case for long. It certainly isn't the case now, and it won't be the case in the future. So, yeah, watch out for that. Again, if you did $20,000 worth of Coinbase transactions in the past year, yeah, you have to sit up and take note. All right, so there's that one. Wow, which one is actually fun to talk about? No, I don't feel like talking about Bitcoin again. Let's talk about... All right, let's do this one. So 5G, it's going to have a lot of benefits. We all know about 4G. We all know about 4G LTE and the effect it has on mobile data transfer rates. The speed at which you can watch video, the speed that you can upload stuff, just essentially, in a lot of cases, how fast your phone works. Well, T-Mobile is going to launch 5G, which is a huge upgrade, in 30 cities this year, including New York and LA. So, T-Mobile will start building out its 5G network this year and plans to be in 30 cities by the end of 2018. Where the first 4 of those are being announced today include New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, and Las Vegas. New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, I get. Las Vegas, a bit of a curveball, but, hey, not the worst choice ever. So they said that T-Mobile CTO Neville Ray boasted that the company's competitors aren't starting their 5G deployment in locations anywhere near as dense, saying that why are we in New York and not Waco? Because New York matters. Ouch, Waco. That's not nice. That's not nice of him. Waco matters. Waco's awesome. Maybe. So, no one will actually be able to use the 5G network this year, though. They said that it wouldn't be until this time next year that the first phones announced that support 5G on T-Mobile's network, saying that, quote, a year from now, we're very confident that, obviously, hey, this is going to be ready to use. So, it's not entirely clear what consumers should expect once they get a 5G network. Speeds should certainly be faster, but T-Mobile and other carriers are talking about 5G as an extension of LTE rather than a replacement for it, saying that 5G is another incremental step and it will become a much larger one as time moves forward. So, all right, there's the doublespeak. 5G as a standard was promised us, I think, 10 gigs up and down. 10 gigs upload, 10 gigs download. That was the promise of 5G. And by gigs, I mean gigabytes per second. It was going to be awesome. In many cases, or was it 1 gig? Either way, in many cases, it was going to be much faster than traditional fiber optic cable. And that was the promise of 5G. So far, seems like 5G is simply going to be marketing hype, unfortunately. And even if you have 5G, it will certainly be faster than 4G LTE. But it seems like the marketers already have their clutches in it. And a true 5G network, again, just from the sounds of it, probably won't be available for a couple of years to come. But hey, if you can claim any speeds faster than 4G LTE are indeed 5G, then hey, it is what it is. So they said that Ray said you'll see an incremental benefit when you're connected to 5G and it's running on an LTE-like wireless band. You'll see more when you have millimeter wave, which is likely to be limited to denser cities, because those more dense waves that they're talking about can hold more data and deliver it faster, but at the same time don't propagate as far. So there you have it, folks. 5G not exactly coming in the next year, but hey, you're definitely going to hear the term. Folks, we're just flat out of time. Again, we apologize to our guests who we unfortunately had to say goodbye so early to, but Jeremy Ring, he was a lot of fun to talk to. And check out his book, We Were Yahoo, available online and in stores. So, folks, until next time, thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to catch us tomorrow, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern, as we talk to the one, the only, Mr. Scott Schober. And he is, of course, Computer America's cybersecurity expert. And, hey, we have a lot to talk about. So, hey, until next time, have a great one. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.